Yo, what's everybody? It's me, Don Weep, here back with part 10 of What If Naruto Had Anti-Chakra. Last time in part 9, we talked about Sasuke's training and him catching up and what he actually did over the 3 years since he wasn't with Orochimaru. And anyway, if you have not watched the previous part or this part, or you haven't watched this part, but if you haven't watched the series and are new to my channel, go up here to the top upper right-hand corner. You'll see up here, there's actually a playlist that has all the previous parts so you can come catch up and then get back to this video. Anyway, if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It's free, and yeah, we just hit 16,000 subscribers yesterday, so that's really cool, and we're on the way to 20,000, so thank you all so much. Anyway, let's just get into this part of What If Naruto Had Anti-Chakra. Sakura continued to go in a circular motion around the two, as well as Kakashi-sensei, as Sakura would be rotating around the group in order to not be seen or sensed by Kakashi's Sharingan. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Hinata would be playing bait, as Sakura's vanguard would be part of the key of their plan actually. Sasuke would hint to Hinata that the plan's about to start, as Sasuke would suddenly hold out his hand. Here we go, Kakashi would be thinking as he begins to use his own, as the two Chidoris would be formed. In Sasuke's left hand, the blade of electricity would cover it, as he prepares himself, as well as telling Kakashi to get ready for this if he doesn't want to die. Kakashi would smile under his mask, as he would then tell Sasuke to come at him, as the two begin charging towards each other, using their massive speed to power up the Chidori even further, as the two are about to pierce each other. Now! Hinata and Sakura would both do their portion of the plan immediately, as Sasuke would stand the Chidori into the ground, causing Kakashi to get thrown up into the air. What? Kakashi would look down as he's looking around, analyzing his Sharingan, wondering what's happening, thinking he was going to go into a Chidori clash with Sasuke. Suddenly, two trees, which were being held up by wire from kunai, which Sakura had set up while Hinata and Sasuke were distracting Kakashi. The two trees on either side would then be cut, as Hinata would take the left side while Sakura would take the right, slashing the wire itself, as the tree would then be let go as it uses momentum. The two trees will begin to fall at equal speed, as at the very end, just as they're about to hit Kakashi, he's trying to use a substitution jutsu midair. I don't think so. Sakura as well as Hinata would jump in from both sides as they punch the tree with full strength, using the strength that they learned from Tsunade. Both of the trees would then come crashing together, as Kakashi would be pinned between them. Sasuke, do it now, Hinata would say, as Sasuke would be ready. What? Kakashi would have been distracted having to use Kamui as he was trying to delete one of the trees so he could get out. But during that time while he was using Kamui at this point, Kakashi still hasn't mastered Kamui to the degree that Obito or, well, Madara has, so he can't do it instantaneously. Sasuke would have taken the opportunity in order to take the bells as he leaps using his speed, entering Sage mode momentarily to boost his strength in his legs as he kicks forward, shattering the ground, grabbing the bells from Kakashi as he lands on the other side. As Team 7, the newly formed Team 7, has succeeded in taking the bells from Kakashi. Kakashi would sigh as he falls to the ground, saying that was intense, and thinking how they could have come up with a plan in such a short amount of time. Sasuke would have told the two girls earlier on about Kakashi's Mangekyo and his ability, as well as how long approximately it takes for him to do so. So he would have given Sakura the task of setting up the trees using her strength and then setting them up so they'd be out of view, while he and Hinata could distract Kakashi by using their dojutsu, as well as trying to make it seem that they were fighting a head-on fight. Both the third Hokage and Kakashi would congratulate the trio on their success in the bell test, and they would let them rest as they would all go off and do their own thing for a while. Sasuke would go back to his house where he sees the picture of Team 7 of him, Naruto, and Sakura with Kakashi, as he and Naruto are staring at each other in anger. Sasuke would smile as he then places the photo, dusting it off since he hasn't been back in 3 years. Time's flown, he'd think. As he looks up at his ceiling, he'd be wondering what was going on with Naruto, and he wondered about Itachi. 1 week later, we would see a bird flying into the Leaf Village, and it was on its last legs. It was flying about as hard as it could, and one of its wings was damaged, and there was soot and ash covering its feathers. As the bird landed with its dying breath, it would die right next to the other birds in the messenger area for the Hokage, with a note tied to its leg. This would be a rather fast scripted note, with blood actually on the paper, droplets of it. By now the blood had dried, but it was unsettling to say the least. As Tsunade, Jiraiya, and the third Hokage would analyze this, it would say one word: Help. From the paper used on the bird that was sent, they could tell this was sent from the Sand Village. But why did they rush so much? What happened? They had not received any notification from the Sand Village earlier, and there's no way this is some sort of prank or anything. So they'd need to send some people out there now. Most of the Jonin and higher level shinobi were out on missions, and so they decided that they were going to test the strength they had saw the other night. And so Team 7 along with Kakashi would be assigned to go on this mission to find what's happened to the Sand Village, and what this message was all about. Sasuke, Sakura, Hinata, and Kakashi would all be sent, with Sai actually replacing Hinata on Team 8 for the foreseeable future, or at least until Naruto came back, if that was ever the case. The group would then leave to head towards the Sand Village from the directions they had followed, knowing that it was going to be a 3 or 4 day trek, and that there would be some sandstorms along the way as well, and other paths they need to worry about. After 1 day of having to hide in a cave throughout a sandstorm, the group would finally arrive, and they'd be horrified to say the least. Just for the sake of comparison of what the Leaf Village looked like after the pain attack in the original timeline, the Sand Village is gone. The entire area is just completely ripped apart. If Pain's is a 10, then the Sand Village at this point in time is a 12. That's how much destruction has taken place in this village. A person couldn't really call it a village anymore, and it looked more like ancient ruins of a civilization from thousands of years ago. The only thing we had disproving it was the shattered sign of the actual sand itself, as well as the numerous thousands and thousands of corpses laying around. Who could have done this? Sakura would say in horror. In fact, all of Team 7 would be shocked. Kakashi not having seen such a level of ruin and destruction in so many years, not since the Third Great Shinobi War. Sasuke would be having flashbacks of the Uchiha Massacre, as he had no idea what to think, as his mind would just be blank, seeing the decay and the rotting corpses with blood filling out the streets, having already then turned to a darker red from the sands pushing over it, making it now mix into the dirt as it was slowly fading away. The entire Sand Village was gone. The group would begin to approach the village to see if they could find any clues of what had happened, and they'd get a clue alright. As the group enters within a certain radius of the entrance of the village, suddenly, black sparks would begin to surround the group. Sasuke, who would be in sage mode as he had already seen the amount of destruction, in case there were any intruders so he could sense their energy, the exact moment that he enters the field, he pushes the rest of Team 7 out of the field as he stands in it, with black sparks just about to cover their bodies. A huge amount of this black electricity would be covering Sasuke now, but in between it would be a gap of air. This would be the nature energy that Sasuke had absorbed before he had decided to enter the Sand Village in case there was any enemies, and it was protecting him. Sasuke would step out of the radius, and as he's back to normal, he deactivates Sage Mode. All 4 of the people there know exactly what this is. This energy is Anti-Chakra, and it's on a scale that they had never seen before. The amount of death, the smell of the rotting corpses burning under the hot sun. There was only one person who would have the ability and the power to do this, to completely eradicate an entire village with one attack. There's no way, he would never do this, Hinata would say, as she can't believe it herself, as there's no doubt that the only person, the only human capable of this power, is Naruto. Naruto, he destroyed the hidden Sand Village. Sakura and Hinata would be crying, and Kakashi and Sasuke would be shocked, aghast at what he had done. There's no way, Naruto was never like that. Sasuke remembers seeing Naruto against Haku and Zabuza, the look in his eyes as he took their lives and killed them using his anti-chakra. Sasuke had inadvertently activated his Sharingan at this point from both fear, rage, and the combination of all of the emotions he was feeling swirling around inside of him. Both Sakura and Hinata be having flashbacks of seeing Naruto fighting Neji, the way he had brutalized him, crippling him. Neji in fact was still incapable of walking, and Gaara, the way he had fought him like an animal. Do you think Hinata would say? Sakura would be nodding slowly. He took revenge on the Sand Village for attacking the Leaf from all those years ago. You can't call this revenge. This is a massacre, Kakashi would finish as he watches, now looking as he would then take his hand, gently brushing over the field to find the distance exactly. His finger would have electrical burns all over it, as Kakashi would quickly ask Sakura and Hinata to heal them for him. Kakashi would have identified where this anti-chakra field was, and this would mean that Sasuke would be the only one to enter. He would only have 5 minutes that his Sage Mode would last, and thus he could protect himself with nature energy from the effects of this death area. And so Sasuke would charge some nature energy for the next 5 or 10 minutes while the others watched. as he would then wave to them as he would then enter into the field, the place where Naruto had been, where he had annihilated all of the sand villagers. In Sasuke's head, he could imagine it, seeing every corpse, how Naruto had done it. First, he used some kind of barrier anti-chakra jutsu using his reversed hand seal style. Once he had done that, he created this barrier of anti-chakra around the entire sand village. And once he had that, all of the villagers and all of the shinobi inside who had chakra would have lost it, as the anti-chakra absorbs it, since no one here has any sage jutsu, so they couldn't defend against it. Once they were drained on chakra and about to pass out, Naruto came in and killed all of them. There wasn't even a fight, and then afterwards, he would see the huge crater that used to be the building where the Kazekage would reside. He must have used a massive amount of anti-chakra and a Yamayanshi in order to destroy a crater of that size. Sasuke would be watching in horror, as he's been around him for 3 minutes now. Suddenly something would catch his eye. A piece of red and black cloth. As he moves over, he would see a blade, a bit of a katana blade, still a bit of black energy covering it, as it was pierced into the ground and blood on the cloth. This is an Akatsuki robe. The Akatsuki must have attacked the sand village at the same time, and there was a struggle. Sasuke would gulp, thinking, which member of the Akatsuki was it? No, there's no way Itachi would get caught in a trap like this, right? Wait, why? Sasuke would be thinking, why is he even worried about Itachi? That bastard should die anyway, but not by Naruto. I can't bear to see him go any further down the darkness. That was the path I was supposed to take. That he took for me. I should have been the one doing this, Sasuke would think, as he feels tears now coming to his eyes. Sasuke would rub them away as he then walks back out of the field, feeling the air actually become lighter as soon as he exits it, just then exiting out of sage mode, as he takes a breath of air. He would then explain to Kakashi, Hinata, and Sakura what had happened in the sand village from what he could tell. Naruto didn't fight any of them. What? They'd ask. He would then explain that he thinks Naruto used some sort of anti-chakra barrier jutsu over the entire village. And then, once everyone had drained their chakra and couldn't move, or were on the verge of passing out, he had come in using his blades and then had finished them all off, saying that most of the dead had wounds from stab wounds, and those who had been blown apart were probably from the main attack. The main attack, they'd ask? As Sasuke would nod. He would then say that Naruto probably used a Yamayanshin, a huge one, because the entire building where the Kazekage's office would be is completely destroyed with a crater around it for about 30 to 40 meters. That's not all I found, Sasuke would say, as he holds up a piece of cloth. The cloth, in fact, that actually had the Akatsuki cloud on it. That's the robe that the Akatsuki wear. Do you think Naruto took one of them down? At least one. But from what we've gathered, the Akatsuki work in pairs of 2, so there might be another one still around here. If we could find them, then that means that they probably would have some info about the attack, and if the One-Tailed Jinchuriki Gaara, who's the new Kazekage, had actually gone away or not. I didn't see him in any of the rubble or any corpses of him, so I think he might still be alive, Sasuke would say. Now that Sasuke had explained the situation to the team, they had all decided they need to go and search around, splitting up. Sasuke would have the highest advantage in this since he has both the Sharingan and Sage mode, so he would scan for miles around using both, and eventually he would find a blood trail, a very small one but still. That means that someone got away, and it's most likely an Akatsuki member. Sasuke would then signal back to the group, as he would then tell them that he's found something, as he would then head towards the path. This would be leading towards that cave where in the original timeline Gaara had been abducted and taken. As Sasuke, Kakashi, Sakura, and Hinata would all head towards the blood trail, which would then lead to this massive stone against a mountainside. That's probably an Akatsuki hideout, Kakashi would say, as the rest of them would nod. I'll take care of this one, Sakura would say, as she jumps down to the valley below, landing on both feet. She would walk towards the boulder, she then charges chakra into her fist, pounding the attack directly into the rock, shattering the boulder as she moves it directly out of the way, opening the cave's entrance, as the rest of the team would then drop before they begin to head inside. The one who had survived had been Deidara, and the reason the blood trail had been so slow was because he had been using his clay to ride on. That's how he had escaped, actually, by using his clay to carry him out of the anti-chakra field. The group, just like in Canon, would have arrived too late, as Gaara would already have been killed, but this time Deidara would have been extremely weakened as he's laying on the ground, with the Akatsuki having already done the ceremony to retrieve the One-Tails. Gaara would be dead. Sasori would have been killed during the anti-chakra attack by Naruto's Yamayanshin blast, and so Deidara was the only one left, as Deidara was on the ground weak and dying, as he was coughing, trying to figure out a way how he can save himself and escape. As the boulder cracks behind him and opens up into the light, Deidara would turn around as he sees a girl with pink hair. Suddenly, 4 more would enter, as Sasuke would still in stage 1 activated with his Sharingan. As Deidara sees the leaf headband on Sasuke and Kakashi's foreheads, he would know it'd be over. And so, just like art, he will go out as an explosion. Deidara would activate his final attack, as Deidara uses the rest of his chakra remaining to create a massive explosion. Suddenly, Sasuke would scream to Sakura to get down, as Sakura would turn around with one last look. Sasuke! As the explosion's about to go off, Sasuke would reach out to Sakura, and as he sees the explosion about to reach her, he would see flashbacks, memories of Sakura telling him that she had loved him, but he had ignored it. He had ignored her feelings for him, and now he was never going to see her again, as they were all going to be enveloped in the explosion. Suddenly, a blast of dark energy would cover the entrance of the cave like a wall, as the explosion would be contained within the mountainside, as rocks shattered and the earth shakes. Deidara's life would be wasted. He sees one last look into the eyes of dark blue, mixed with a black pupil in the middle staring down at him. As there we see Naruto Uzumaki, having arrived just in time. Sorry I'm late, he would say. It just took me a while to take care of that Sasori, that puppet user. He was annoying. Naruto would laugh, as he would then use his katana, slicing off Deidara's head before stepping on it and crushing it into the ground. Sakura would be shocked as she falls backward, landing in Sasuke's arms, as Naruto would turn around. Naruto looks different now. Naruto would have a long scar going down across his eye from when Gaara had scratched him back during the Chunin exams, as well as his hair having grown out and looking more gray. As Naruto would turn around, his dark blue eyes having darkened now more after the 3 years that they've been apart. Hinata would be shocked, and Kakashi would be as well, as we would see Orochimaru then appear, wondering what was going on. As Orochimaru would be watching from a distance, wondering what Naruto would do, he would begin to snicker and laugh, thinking about the pained look he'll see on Sasuke's face, as he thought that Sasuke had betrayed him, wondering where his curse mark had gone. As Naruto turns, Naruto would lock eyes, making eye contact with Sasuke. Seeing Sasuke, Hinata, Sakura, and Kakashi, he began to have a smile on his face, and his eyes would look almost insane. Naruto began laughing. He says, "It's so good to see you, Sasuke. You're alive. I protected you again. With this power. Power." Naruto would be lost on his words as he looks down at the ground before kicking back at Deidara's corpse. Naruto then sheathes his katana back into its black case, as Naruto's outfit looks different too. Naruto would be wearing an open shirt, similar to what Sasuke was wearing when he was at Orochimaru's. Naruto's outfit would be slightly different, as it was all black, with light gray for the rope and pants, as well as him having a hoodie on the back of his actual open shirt rather than just a collar. Naruto's tan skin and muscles would be rippling over his body, and he would look even stronger and buffer than he had before, showing off that he had still continued with his physical training even after he had gone to Orochimaru's. Sasuke would then begin to talk to Naruto as he asks, Naruto? Naruto would have his focus lost for a moment, but then he would look back to Sasuke. Yes, Sasuke? Naruto would be looking desperately, as he wants to listen to Sasuke's words. Sasuke would ask Naruto if he can come back to the village, telling Naruto it's okay, as he tells Naruto that everyone's safe. Suddenly, Naruto would hear a whisper in the back of his mind. This would be the whisper of Sasuke's voice, and it would say, "He's lying. It's a fake. It's one of the Akatsuki trying to trick you and take the 9 tails. You're all fakes," Naruto would say, as Naruto's body began to emit a dark energy. Naruto would turn around again, quickly grabbing his face as he begins shaking and contorting. His muscles would begin to buff up as his shirt would begin to rip. Underneath Naruto's shirt, Sasuke could see something. Sasuke would begin coughing before he begins to throw up, as he sees one thing underneath Naruto's shirt. Naruto's back would have thousands of scars, and over those scars would be a massive seal. A sealing symbol so powerful that it must have taken years to create. This is the work of Orochimaru. The seal itself would be pitch black, and inside of it would be blood transfused from Naruto to harness his own anti-chakra power to restrain him. Orochimaru during the 3 years had figured out how Minato, the 4th Hokage, had created the seal in order to seal the 9 tails within Naruto, and he had successfully replicated it in order to create his own cursed seal on Naruto, using Anti-Chakra, as he would have created an Anti-Chakra curse mark. Opposite to the heavenly curse mark or the earthly curse mark, this curse mark would be that of a star. It would be the curse mark of the underworld. As Orochimaru, after having completed it, would have complete control to mess with Naruto's mind. 3 years ago, after Naruto had arrived at Orochimaru's place, he had tried to escape multiple times, but Orochimaru, as long as his men, would have kept Naruto there, and had continued to do experiments on him. Naruto had scars all over his body, testing his healing ability, along with his Uzumaki powers, seeing if Naruto could unlock the chakra chains using his Anti-Chakra. Naruto would be screaming in pain, as electricity would be covering his body. Naruto would be looking up at the ceiling, thinking of only one thing. Sasuke, are you okay? Sasuke, Sasuke. He would see images of everyone. Hinata, Sakura, Kakashi. Naruto would only be focusing to keep the burden of the pain off of his mind. Suddenly he'd get a punch in the gut with someone covered in gloves, as Naruto would vomit, blood covering his mouth and his body, as tears begin to fill his eyes. No, I can do this. I will protect them. This drive to protect the ones he loves would be Naruto's greatest weakness. It would be the thing keeping Naruto going, and also the thing chaining him to his suffering. As Orochimaru, day after day, would force Naruto to fight for hours at a time using Anti-Chakra. And the more that Naruto used Anti-Chakra, the more powerful he became, and the less of himself there was. Naruto receded slowly back into himself as he became darker and darker. More hatred, anger, and menace, as the Nine Tails' rage would have now merged into Naruto's soul itself, as Naruto had become insane. Naruto would still have one goal that he never let go, never would let go, and no matter how hard Orochimaru would try, he couldn't break it. He would be willing to protect Sasuke, no matter what. Orochimaru would have tried this many times after he had emplaced the curse seal around year 2. And by this point, Naruto had created multiple techniques that Orochimaru had helped develop by testing his Anti-Chakra for him. Naruto would now be able to create massive versions of the Yamayanshin. He'd be able to teleport, use barrier by using reverse hand seal jutsu to create Anti-Chakra barriers, negating chakra within it, as well as a few other things. We would see suddenly to Sasuke's horror, as a black energy would begin to thicken around Naruto. Now back at the present, we can see inside of Naruto the seal, where we normally would have found Kurama, the orange fox, the nine-tailed fox. Instead we find something else. We find a rotting corpse, its fur having already decayed and gone black. Half of its skull was revealed, of its eye a pitch black, with only a pupil of red remaining. It had turned into a monster. Orochimaru had successfully figured out how to deactivate the seal now that he had Naruto for such a long period of time. Using Anti-Chakra, he would have erased Minato's trace of chakra, as well as the seal binding within it, by removing the chakra part of the seal and then reverting it back to Anti-Chakra. Naruto has killed and tamed the Nine Tails, creating the Black Nine Tails, filled with Anti-Chakra, having converted the Nine Tails' power into Anti-Chakra. Naruto would now have a massive pool of power. As Sasuke would now be turning face on towards Naruto at this point, his eyes would be hollow, as Orochimaru would continue to use the seal's power from afar, as he whispers into Naruto's ears, "Kill them all." If you guys want to see the next part of what if Naruto had Anti-Chakra, and what's going to happen to Team 7, make sure to hit the like button, comment down below what you thought, and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this from me. Well, maybe not like this, because this is probably one of the darkest series I've ever done on my channel, but anyway, I hope you did enjoy it, and part 11 will hopefully be coming out next week or sooner than that. Leave a comment on what you think about Naruto having killed the entire Sand Village, and also what Orochimaru had done experiment-wise, as well as training him with new abilities, and also the Black Nine Tails ability that Naruto now has. Feel free to comment about those below if you have any ideas or anything, or if theories about what's going to happen in the story. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.